Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Undisputed welterweight title. A European champion, quite like this man.
If you are a fighting game fanatic, whether it be boxing or MMA, you would have known about Undisputed, formerly known as ESBC, 2 years ago, when Steel City Interactive released a jaw-dropping trailer showcasing impressive 3D geometry and lighting, but most notably, seamless footwork, of which we've never seen in a boxing game to date. With much debate amongst the boxing community as to whether or not this game is just bells and whistles or genuinely has potential, Undisputed is now available to the public under early access for $24.99, and since I was one of the biggest skeptics who actually believed the game to potentially be a scam, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Let's take a look at Undisputed and see what it has to offer.
Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time.
In its current early access state, you'll have access to quick fights where you'll be able to jump straight into a fight with the computer. And I've got to say, the roster is pretty impressive. From Sugar Ray Leonard, Alexander Usyk, Katie Taylor, Terence Crawford, Tyson Fury, the list goes on. But notable missing characters would include Amanda Serrano, Mike Tyson, and Chris Eubanks Sr. and Jr. But again, it's still early days. Now, the main appeal for Undisputed is its local and online multiplayer. You can jump into a quick online fight, or you can play online and earn a rank. We don't have a career mode as of yet, or a character creator mode, so if these are features that specifically appeal to you, I wouldn't recommend purchasing the game just yet. But according to the developers, these features are in the works.
I don't care what you say about me, Queen.
Once you initiate the game, it will offer you a training session, and it's vital that you don't skip this because it will offer you the basic mechanics, including loose movement, where much like Muhammad Ali and Roy Jones Jr., you can stand in a non-traditional boxing stance. Hooks, jabs, parrying, blocking, it's all there in this training session. Now, for me to truly break down what I love about this game, I'm going to show you an amazing fight, but after I break down some of its key faults. Now, it's often the shots that you don't see coming which do the most damage or have the most impact. At the moment, this is slightly lacking in Undisputed. I think mass, momentum, trajectory could be refined. So, for example, if my opponent is constantly chasing me and their hands are down, but I'm landing the jab as their momentum is pushing into me, even if my jab is weak, the velocity and momentum of these two forces coming together should really act as a deterrent for my opponent, which forces them to adapt. Secondly, one of my main weapons that I would use in UFC or Fight Night would be the step in jab. But in Undisputed, if I step in and jab, there is a pause in between and the jab itself lacks any impact. And the third notable issue I have with the combat so far would have to be the ragdoll physics, or at least how those ragdoll physics integrate with motion capture. Just to generalize, it feels like there are a number of variables missing when it comes to the distance between fighters and the types of punches that they throw. So for example, in this case, I'm at close proximity with my opponent, but yet I'm throwing long range hooks. I'd expect automatically for that punch to adapt to a short range hook. And I'm not suggesting that that short range hook would have to land, but it would look far less odd than Roy Jones sort of throwing these long range hooks which are going all over the place. So why do I think this game is worth the purchase in its current state? With any competitive fighting game, you want to have that ability to form a strategy, implement it, but if you deal with adversity, always have an option to adapt in some way. Secondly, if I have the ability to humiliate my opponent, have close calls, dominate, and brutally knock them out, these key fundamental ingredients make a fighting game worth playing, and Undisputed in its current form of early access has all of these ingredients. I've played roughly 15 games online and so far I'm undefeated. And I wanted to break down how good boxing IQ and critical thinking can defeat an opponent primarily utilizing their mass and focused on the knockout. So my opponent here, Carl Froch, was a one-time unified super middleweight world champion. He's known for having heavy hands, and as you can see, he's pretty big. And Roy Jones in this game is susceptible to getting knocked out. So my main strategy here in the first round is feeling him out, seeing if he's a strategist or if he's a bit of a brawler. And as I came to find out, he wanted to bully me. He was pushing forward, throwing hooks, so I adapted by countering a lot. So as you can see, the game rewards you for good precision, timing, and footwork. Where 6 rounds in, it's a completely clean slate and he's frustrated at this point. I'm not aiming for the knockout. For me, it's a game of chess, and I give him opportunities to adapt, but instead he's trying to mimic me. The difference is I am Roy Jones, so Roy Jones will play differently to Carl Froch. And honestly, this is what I love about the game. I've played as Carl Frock online and I've been successful because I understand his strengths and his weaknesses. So I can only imagine those who dislike the gaming mechanics and occasionally those who have asked for a refund. It's possible they didn't invest the time to really learn the game mechanics. Now notice how my opponent is far more cautious to throw to the wind. In the first 2 rounds he was fully willing to stand and bang, and my skill set has left him flustered to the point now he's just walking into shots. Now we are 9 rounds in, and although it is a clean slate, he has actually adapted quite well. He understands this is more of a boxing simulation as opposed to Street Fighter. So for example, because I have an orthodox stance, I'm more susceptible to the right cross. And he's catching me because I'm getting arrogant, complacent. We see this in real boxing. So I adapted by keeping my stamina high and just picking my shots. And I have to give this guy credit. Listen, he could have just given up, but he kept on going despite all my showboating. Now clearly I had the advantage over my opponent. He obviously looked at me like Neo from the Matrix, but I wanted to play a game of who can hold the center of the ring. Now just to clarify, I'm not showing off here. I'm just offering to you that Undisputed gives us the option to put in the work, and if you learn the game mechanics despite the flaws and have a decent boxing IQ, you have a great game on your hands. So another way of looking at it is your perspective of this game is relative to how much time you're willing to put into it. Now I hope you guys found this review helpful. Let me know in the comments section if you'd like me to cover it more in a similar manner to the likes of Martial Mind, how he breaks down MMA games. I'd be more than happy to take part and showcase some interesting competitive matches. Undisputed is currently available on the Steam platform for $24.99. Remember, it is in early access. Take care, guys. See you next time. Peace.